All right, well, welcome to the 2023 workshop webinar. My name is Kimura. I am a certified life coach and grief recovery specialist. I'm so glad you're either here or watching on the replay. And this is going to be an amazing hour where we get to work. It's very important that you grab your favorite notebook and a pen and a cup of tea or something to drink, and really take time to actually do the things that the purpose of this is so that you can step into 2023 with more confidence, with a purpose, with some dreams and some goals that you can achieve based on what you're going to learn today in this workshop. And I will be teaching some of the life coaching tools that forward in my life and with my goals. And we will do a workshop style writing. So I'll pause at times and give you some time to write down what it is that we're talking about. We're going to basically zoom out of your life, and we're going to see all the aspects of your life. And so that includes things like spirituality, includes things like health and finances and relationships, even romance. And yes, romance would include even those of us that are married, like myself. And if you're not married, you know what that means, right? And so we're going to figure out where you want to be a year from now. And so I know this will be very helpful to you if you stick with it and you actually do the work. And if there are any questions, I'm totally available on Instagram. I'm at and the Facebook. I'm Ann Kimura Life Coaching is my business page. And you can also email me at smart1 coaching @gmail.com with any questions, and I'd be happy to help after this process. So we're going to start with one topic at a time, and you're going to open up. You might want to use one page per topic, and I'm going to ask you some questions, and I want you to write with spirituality. Okay, so on a scale of 1 to 10, right now in your life, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate spirituality in your own personal journey right now? So take some time. I'm actually going to do this at the same time. So write down spirituality. Then next to that, write your score for yourself. Okay. Now, what would a 10 look like for you? So if your spiritual life was a 10, what would it look like? Another way to answer that would be, what would it take? What would have to happen for it to be a 10? Okay. So what would have to happen for your spiritual life to be a 10? What would need to change? Take a couple minutes. So write down a few things that might need to change, what you think needs to be different in order for it to be a 10. Okay. All right. Now we're gonna move on to the next topic, and that is finances. Okay, so currently on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you in the finance area? I forgot to mention 10s being best, and then 1 is being the worst, right? Best is 10. So you might want to turn the page of your notebook and put finances, then give yourself your score. Whole life. So we're hitting all the main pillars of life. And then that gives you the perspective of where you're at. And then we're also asking ourselves to look to the future, like what would make it a 10 in our own eyes? And then at the end, we'll define. Okay, so finances on a scale of 1 to 10. Okay, and then what would a 10 look like for you? So this is, considering that you're not a 10 right now. Some of you might be in certain areas of your life. And if you are, I want you to give yourself finances page or whichever page you already feel like you're at a 10. But if you're not at a 10, what would get you there? What would need to change? Take a couple minutes to write that down. So what would need to happen for it to be a 10? Write down at least a few things, okay? So you have some things to work with. All right. You can always add to your list later. That's why I encourage you to give a page to each category. Okay, so the next category. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your relationships? Okay, for some of us, we might, I know past clients have really wanted to focus, like if they were married, they wanted to give their marriage a separate spouse into the mix of relationships because they feel like their marriage has a different score than their other general relationships. So you're welcome and give your marriage a score, and then maybe how you're doing with other relationships like friendships or coworkers or bosses or children. And so you can give yourself an overall score. Do those on your sheet. Okay, so now once you have your score or scores, depending on if you divide it up into categories, then what you will want to do is answer those other questions. What would it look like? And what would need to happen? What would need to change? And this is all your own perception, right? Like what you would like it to be, because this is your life, right? You are in charge of your life. Yes, you are. And even if you have a belief in God, God gave you choice. That means he has told you you get to make the decisions. And so this is very powerful, right? The idea that, wow, even in me, and he gave me life, he designed me, but he has given me decision-making power. And that includes what we choose to hold on to inside our minds. And we're going to talk more about that, but it's powerful. It's powerful. Okay, so what would your marriage or choosing just relationships in general, take a couple minutes and write that down. Okay, so I personally divided it up into marriage, kids, and other relationships. So that's how I did mine. And so I was writing underneath each of those categories. And again, you can brainstorm, can add to this later, spend more time on that. Okay, so the next category is career. And so that includes business. So if you are a businessman or woman and you own a business or you're building a business, entrepreneur and have been for the last 8 years, and it's been interesting ride, like a roller coaster, right? Ups and downs, but it's an exciting and kind of freeing, being free of an employer, because you are the main person in charge. But you might also not be a business building person right now, currently, and you have a career. And so on for your business, or if you have both, like I do currently, I have a part-time teaching job. So that's still my career. I'm still in education. And then I have my life coach. My goal is for it to really be the main focus, and to be able to focus solely on that. That's my goal for 2023. But what is yours? Let's start 1 to 10, 10 being best. How would you rate your career or business? Okay, then what would a 10 look like for you in each of those categories if you have both or if you just have one? So what would a 10 look like in your career? Are you looking for advance, the someday, right, at the end? Are you wanting to change positions? Maybe not even advancement. I've had people who actually want to kind of like step down and have less responsibility. For you, write a few things down. And I would encourage you to get specific if you can, which you can. Get specific, like if you have a goal for your business, write down that goal, like a number. So if it's clients, if it's followers, if it's, yeah, get specific, write a few things down that are more specific. For your career, same thing. Have you, seen a position, seen someone in a position and kind of daydreamed about being in that position? Then write it down. If your company, maybe you're thinking of another company, that also would be something to write down. So another company, maybe that has better pay or benefits or morale, right? Okay, so that's for career and business. Now we're moving on to health. Okay, so health is your physical body. Okay, we're going to focus on that first. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being best, so you're looking at your whole physical body. You're not just looking at your arms or, that belly, or that ache, that one ache. I want you to kind of look at the whole picture. Okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, where are you? Sometimes when it's hard to choose, you might do a slash, right? Like this slash this, right? Okay, now if it was a 10, what would make it a 10? Your physical body, your health. Get specific here. So aches gone in your back, cholesterol down, 10 pounds lighter, right? Get specific, okay? Write that down under health. Okay, the next thing, part of our health is our mental health, right? So mental health really has to do with heart and mind. And actually in the Bible and in other ancient, actually like attached, right? So, which is interesting because as a life coach during my certification I was certified through Covenant Coaching, and we learned that our thoughts create our feelings. So it was super enlightening to realize that in spiritual texts, the heart and mind were connected too. So we're learning that if we can get a hold of our thoughts, we can get a hold of our feelings. So a lot of us are going through life and we're allowing our feelings to lead to our actions or reactions or our inactions, meaning, or it's too hard, so we don't do it, or we're dreading the gym, so we don't go, right? That's allowing our feelings to drive our actions or inaction. And so mentally, right? So emotionally, where are you? I'm also a grief recovery specialist. So I am in no way minimizing our feelings. Right? It is very important that we pay attention to our feelings. Our feelings are our warning signs, right? They're like the sign. So when we see the deer crossing sign, we start watching out for deer, right? We start maybe slowing down, right? We slow down our vehicles just in case because we don't want a collision with the deer. I actually just had a friend whose daughter had a collision with the deer and her daughter's car was totaled. So we want to take the warning signs and do something with it. So feelings are ourselves to feel them, but we don't want to allow our feelings to dictate our lives or our lifestyles or how we move forward or don't move forward. We want to get a hold of that and be in charge the way God intended for us. Emotions, the decision-making power. He gave our minds the decision-making power and our wills, right? Like, so here's what I want you to do. Let's start with, you know where you're at emotionally. You can compare like, 5 years ago, 2 years ago, 20 years ago to now, right? Where I literally remember myself sitting at the bottom of my closet under my clothes crying. And that is real. Currently, I'm not in that place. So if I look at my life and kind of compare, right, then I can kind of come up with a number, 10 being best, 1 being worst. So write down emotional health and give yourself a score. Okay, now ask yourself, what would it look like for me to be emotionally at a 10? What would need to happen to make it a 10? What would need to change? So I'll just share with you right now, I wrote down, the first thing I wrote down for my score to become a 10 would have to be more communication. And that just popped into my head. And I really believe that it is lack of connection or lack of communicating with others. And when you do not feel heard or have someone safe on a consistent basis to share how you're doing, that can affect your emotional health, right? And the other thing, like I said, emotional health is our thinking, our thoughts. And that is one of the main things I do as a life coach is I work with my clients and help them find those thoughts that are limiting them, the thoughts that are negative, that are bringing them down, holding them down, putting heavy burdens on their shoulders. I help my clients find those because once it is powerful. So in coaching sessions, we remove the limiting thoughts and beliefs. And the difference between a limiting thought and a limiting belief is the belief has been held for longer. It's been thought repeated so many times that it's become in our brains, in our hearts and minds, it's become ingrained in there, right? It's kind of dug a ditch, but it's okay. It's not a hopeless situation, okay? So what happens is we remove the thought by decision through an you start replacing, so filling in that ditch, right, with a new thought that will become a new belief that will help propel you forward, will motivate you, will give you the life change that you want. It is powerful and it works. And the Bible actually says, take captive Christ. So the word of God says for us to take captive our thoughts. Our thoughts cannot just be left to themselves. We cannot just not manage our thoughts. We can, but our lives will show. It's just like anything else, right? Like you don't change your oil on your car and you don't get the tires rotated and you don't get the tires replaced. What's going to happen? Or you don't change the oil and your motor might start burping and coughing and doing other things, and other parts of the engine start breaking down, right? And so it's the same thing when we don't take care of our mind, start to show the results, the consequences of that, right? So it's super important, if you get anything out of this webinar, is that your thoughts are more important than your actions. I'm going to say that one more time. Your thoughts are more important than your actions. In other words, priority-wise, if you're going to take care of something, put the thought up here, the actions down here. When you take care of your thoughts, your feelings will follow, and then your actions will follow those. And then your results, what you get, is going to be powerful change, life change. Okay, so I don't know if we did this, but if you haven't already, so what would a 10 look like for your emotional health? That's right, we started that. Right, maybe one more thing down. What would need to change? Okay, and actually physical and emotional health are connected as well, right? Because we know the power of exercise and movement, right? And how that can stimulate the brain hormones, drugs, right? The brain, the good feeling, and all of those really things that help us feel stress and happier, right? So exercise affects our emotional health, and exercise connects to our physical health. So that's why they're both under health. This is our last category. So far we have done, go back. We have spirituality, finances, relationships, and career, which included business, health, and we're going to go to our last one, romance, and it's on a pink card. So, pink like Valentine's. So, yeah, so romance. What does that look like right now for you? Do you know that the Bible says it's not good for man to be alone? And of course, that could mean other companionship, friendships, right? Or even pets can be companions. But romance between two people who get butterflies, right? Or desire to have a physical relationship with another person, right? So romance, what does that look like for you right now? On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being best, write down romance. If you're married, I will reiterate that Romance is still important. So in other words, dating your spouse, going out for dinner or a movie. It could be a date in, watching a movie together at home, playing a game, other stuff, right? That can be adding to fanning into flame, right? Fanning into flame. It needs to be intentional, all of this actually. So even if you're single, you have to consider anything worth, anything is worth working on fighting for, right? So it's not going to just like drop in our laps, person. It's not going to just drop in your lap. It needs to be start here with intention, right? Okay, so where are you at currently? And then what would it look like for it to be a 10? So start to dream. What would it look like for it to be a 10? Okay, I'm checking the time. All right. So um, now we've got in our aerial view. You have an aerial view of your life. Okay. What do you do with this information? Okay. Well, we already, right? And so you wrote down some things which are very good starting points for dreaming big. So now I want you to go to a new page and I want you to write in capital letters, dream, like that, dream. Okay. So I want you to dream big, maybe even write big. Okay. No limitations. Start with those things you wrote down in your life. But a year from now, so almost at Christmas time, next year, 2023, what do you want your life to look like? Dream. Don't let the excuses stop you from dreaming. What do you want your life to look like a year from now? What do you want to be able to say right before Christmas in 2023? Do you want to say I paid off my car? Do you want to say I went on a trip? Do you want to say my husband and I are more in love? Do you want to say I have a boyfriend? We're spending Christmas together? Do you want to say my business has exploded? Do you want to say I'm so much more less stressed? I'm so much more at peace. What do you want to say in 2023? Write it down. I'm going to give you a couple minutes. Just kind of just go. Just write. You can cross out later. Don't edit, just write. Ooh, this is feeling good. I don't know about you, but have you felt like I'm really feeling the good energy coming out as I'm like dreaming and just writing all these things. It's amazing. Think of all the categories. So where do you want to be in your finances? Where do you want to be in your relationships? Where do you want to be um, with your physical home? Maybe even your car, your vehicles. Um, where do you want to be inside? What do you want to feel like, right? Physical health. Do you want to be like 10 pounds lighter? If you have be gone. Spirituality, where do you want to be in your relationship to God or whatever faith you have or don't have? Where do you want to be? Dream big. So this is good, right? All the good stuff. Okay. So now all this is what you want, right? And these desires, many of them come from who you were created to be. So there are four main personality types. We each have our own major type that we fit into, and we have a little bit of the other ones. Some of us are more that has a lot to do with like how we dream, what we dream of, our goals, etc. Another thing that affects our dreaming is our upbringing, right? And so some of us have had parents who maybe, were always going this save money or spend money, or we're poor, or we need to give to whoever needs it, right? So we have upbringings that also develop the way we think and our beliefs. And during coaching sessions, they affect how much we dream, and if there's any walls that are hit, you're hitting a wall. Sometimes it's because of those childhood parental belief systems that we embrace because we were little children. But what's powerful is we work through that and we can get to the root, pull out the weed. Not all of it was bad. Sometimes there's those weeds and they're deep in there, but we get to that, and that allows the garden to flourish, your life to flourish, right? So that they don't choke out the plants that are growing, the harvest that is coming. And so as a life coach, that is my job, and my joy is to help people have a harvest. You need to prepare the soil. And today we prepared the soil for 2023. So we scan, aerial view of the garden, our life. You have to get, where's the sun shining? Where's the sun not shining? Where's the shade for the plants that need rich, or does it need fertilizer, right? What weather are we having in the area that I live in, right? You have to know what's going on around you. And then we can plant the seeds, and the seeds are whatever you want them to be. So if you want to grow pumpkin seed, right? Do you need to know when to plant it? Do you need to know where to plant it? Do you need to know how much to water it? You do, right? Anything you want needs to be planned and intentional. And so I really want to encourage you to go with what we did tonight. Take this, reread it, go back, add some in, dream more. And then I want to encourage you, I would love discussing what you came up with and going over that together and talking about how life coaching could help you get to your goals faster in each of these areas that we talked about: health, romance, relationship, physical health, right? That is a lot of areas. And what we do is I work with you one-on-one via Zoom. We get together, and it's always the client's choice of what to talk about during a 50-minute work on. I ask you questions to help you get to those thoughts or those beliefs that might be holding you back in that particular area. Sometimes it's a circumstance that you come to the session with your parents or with your spouse, and then we work on what's going on in there and the feelings that were coming up for you and where those were coming from. It's a powerful 50 minutes. The goal is at the end of the session to get you to a different place. And me via Instagram, Facebook, or email smartonecoaching@gmail.com. Just in there, say, I'd like a consultation, and let's get together and kind of go already during this webinar. Then, and you rather do it with me one-on-one, we can do that too. But I'd encourage you to move forward so that in 2023, you see many of these dreams and goals that to be a reality. That is the goal, to start seeing them become reality, right? And that is another thing that I like to do with my clients is vision exercises, where we envision, and you close your place so that you can feel it, see it, taste it, hear it, and really put yourself in that place that you want to go. It's powerful. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for watching the replay. It's my pleasure to serve you, and I hope we can connect again in the future. You have before then, and I hope to connect for sure in January. Message me with any questions. Thanks so much for being here.